Hey everyone, welcome to the Fireside Chat number 23 on Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. I'm Tracy Friedlander, and on the show today, Eileen and I discuss a particularly hellish week at day 39 of our 100-day challenge that was prompted by a single, simple text message. We discuss what it's like to be labeled and put into a box. This is particularly relevant as you are defining a thriving classical music career for yourself. We share some very personal stories that you will most certainly relate to. My hope is that you get perspective for yourself as you listen, because one seemingly quote-unquote bad event that set us off into a tailspin led to a chain of events that turned out to be the best thing that happened in our entire 100-day challenge so far. Before we begin, a couple of things. Please join the conversation at facebook.com/crushingclassical as well as Crushing Classical on Instagram. If you love our content, it would mean the world to us for you to comment and share it with your classical musician friends and colleagues. Also, remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. That way you won't miss an episode. Let's get started. Hey, Eileen, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Great. Okay, so today we are talking about, to start with, we were going to talk about a lot of things, but we're going to start by talking about our 100-day challenge. Eileen and I have been on a 100-day challenge, and our plan was to do a big episode to update you how our 100 days was going at day 50. And we realized that we have a shitload to talk about at day 39.
Yeah, it's day 39 today, and
we realized that a few days ago.
Yeah, and it's we need to talk about it now. It's we can't wait till day 50 to talk about it.
And I just want to point out that here we were trying to define and make something look so neat and cute, like, oh, it makes sense. Day 50 is halfway between 0 and 100, or between 1 and 100. So let's just do that because it's perfect.
Just like you have to start a diet on Monday, you have to update people on your 100-day challenge on day 50.
Exactly. You have to follow the rule that we made up that nobody made up.
That's
except
right. You
us.
Can't start a diet on a Friday. You have to start it on a Monday.
Right, because Mondays suck. You might as well do everything that sucks on a Monday.
Right, exactly. And that's the same thing with this whole, we have to wait till day 50. But the truth is we have to talk about it now because this was quite a week.
It was.
It's been a huge roller coaster for us. Huge.
Yeah, and as we're talking about Mondays, I might as well start on a Monday because that was a sucky day for me now that you bring up Sundays and Mondays and how they suck. And so over the weekend, I was feeling, I was having this yucky, I call it a yucky feeling. I've called it that for like years.
Since you were 5.
Yeah, like I have a yucky feeling. I don't know what it is. But so I was having a yucky feeling on Sunday, and I was just like, it's that dread feeling. I used to have it every single Sunday before school, my whole life, because I dreaded school. I never liked it. So I just had that dread feeling like, oh, I'm going back. I have to do a bunch of stuff that I don't want to do. And I thought, well, why am I fucking having that feeling now? Like I invented Crushing Classical, so I shouldn't be feeling like that about Crushing Classical. And I was like, but it's not. And I knew that it really wasn't about Crushing Classical, but I didn't know what else it would be about because it was right before the Monday, the week. And so I was feeling bad. And then we go into Monday, and it wasn't a bad day. And you and I were talking a little bit, and
actually, I thought Monday was a really good day. I remember I woke up and I had a post immediately for the page, and then I had 3 more ideas for a post, and then you brought forward an idea, and I ended up writing. I ended up writing 4 posts that day, I think.
I think so. And that was when I came up with the idea of the post of, hey, I never know what the hell is going to happen any day, because I had no idea Eileen was going to write posts.
Right. Which is because normally Tracy writes posts, just so you know. And so, I mean, it's usually collaborative on some level, but Tracy is usually the one who writes the posts. And so, so anyway, it was unusual for me to write posts. And it was also, I wrote one of the posts based on some stuff that Tracy had said, like some, experience, like she just shared an experience she was having. And I was like, wow, that'd be a great post. And so I ended up cranking out a 4th post that day.
Yeah. And then you got another idea based on another person in your life, and you did another post on that. And then the other post was about that you were writing posts, and I didn't know that you were going to write posts. And I thought that I knew everything about what was going to happen on Monday.
Right. Right.
So that happened. And, things, I sort of felt better on Monday, but I don't know, there was something sort of nagging in the background. And then towards the end of the day, you brought up like, I want, I/we want to grow Crushing Classical. We want more people to know about the podcast. We want more followers. We want more engagement. We want all these things that everyone wants when they're building an online presence, and it's just not happening very fast, like.
Yeah, I mean, we were stuck at a number of followers. I say stuck, like, the number of followers had basically remained the same. And that particular day on Monday, I got really, I got mad about it. I got
Yeah, and let's be clear, we are grateful for everybody that's following, and we love
absolutely.
You guys are like the founders club.
Yeah.
We friggin' love the shit out of you.
It has nothing to do with the audience. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with, what are we doing or not doing that is, we're not getting our message as far as we want to get it. It's always it's always disappointing when you have a movement and you want to move it and it's not moving at the pace that you want it to. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with being ungrateful,
Exactly. So I wake up on Tuesday. Well, I saw one more text before I went to bed, and
yeah, and you're going to bed early these days, so she didn't see like all this stuff happen when she went to bed.
Yeah,
and keep in mind, I'm in Phoenix, so I'm 3 hours behind her. So I've got 3 more hours of daylight.
Yeah, and so I'm going to bed, and usually, since I've been getting up at now 5:30 in the morning to start meditating, and so I go to bed a lot earlier than I used to. I'd never been a morning person, but now I'm on this 100 days. This is the first time I'm doing this. So I was going to bed early, and then in the morning, I don't turn on my phone or anything right away because I want to stay relatively brain dead so that I can do my meditation.
Right, yeah,
I'm close. It's yeah. When you start thinking, then you have more to clear out before you can get to the good stuff. So I don't turn anything on. I just go straight to my meditation when I wake up. And then I turned on my phone, and we had something planned. Oh, I know that I had an interview on Tuesday, and I turn on my phone and I see this email, and it's it was mean.
It was not mean.
It wasn't mean, but it was direct, and it was
direct. It was direct. It wasn't mean. Yeah. I love how everybody calls me mean. I'm not mean. I'm direct. There's a difference.
You're direct, and you make statements, and they're truths, and they're just like, this is how it is. And
it's
so essentially you were like, I'm going to write more posts. I need to, do this, that, and the other. You're not doing that, so I'm going to do that. And why all the executive decisions? Because it's time to make decisions. It's time to move. And I was like, Eileen, A, hates me. B, thinks I'm a shitty partner. My life sucks today. Oh my God.
And it's really funny because I sort of knew that was going to happen. I sort of knew, not that I had any intention to.
But you know me.
But I know her, and I know that she, the first thing she does whenever, there's something serious on the table is she immediately, she uses it just like any human would. She uses it and she looks at herself and goes, I suck. Because that's what people do.
Yeah.
And I really tried to be careful about how I worded it because I didn't want it to sound like blame. That's not what I meant at all. It was more of okay, let's make a new game here. And this is how I see this strategy playing out. And it was really, and I even said, this is a proposed strategy for the game. And I was expecting, that we would talk about it or that she would email back or whatever.
Yeah. And, let's be clear. I want it to grow and I want things to change too. And I was, but confront, it's hard to confront things and it's hard to, I don't know, but that's why things go slow when you don't attack it. And so this is what happened. It got attacked on Tuesday.
Yeah, I got attacked on Tuesday, and we had a really good exchange on Tuesday between the two of us. I think we ended up talking that day too, several times.
Mm-hmm.
We talked several times, and then also, and we texted too because we do a lot of texting. We do some emailing too.
We texted, we emailed, we talked more than once. I mean, there was a lot of communication that day.
Yeah, and I think we really sort of got into a rhythm. Okay, like into an agreement about what the game was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's an audience building focus.
Yeah,
we want to spread our message farther. That's it. But it was great though to get Tracy on the same, in the same place of confronting it, which is where I was while she was sleeping.
So it was a little confronting for me to see that you had confronted something that I didn't know about while I was sleeping, and then be like,
it's happened.
It's like getting bitch slapped when you wake up in the morning.
That's right. It is. And
You know.
I had confronted it. I was up until like 12:30 in the morning. Um and that's unusual for me. I don't usually do that. I usually go to bed fairly like 9:30. And
Mm-hmm.
so I stayed up way late and I was obviously tired the next day, but I think yeah. So we got on the same page, and that was good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, totally.
but then and then
And what
you know
happened next in the story?
what happened?
So,
You remember?
yeah, I know what happened. So, so, the day was going and yada yada, and then I was getting ready to go pick up my daughter from camp, and
So it's the afternoon at this point.
it's the afternoon,
Hmm.
and I get a text, and it says, "Listened to your Fireside Chat 18. So, is Eileen a coach or a life coach? What is her role?"
Hmm.
And I shared that with Eileen, and
She actually shared that with me, by the way, not via text. We were on the phone.
we were on the phone, and
Hmm.
I told her that I got that question about her role.
Hmm.
And I was irritated by it. Although, it's not me.
No, and it's also not a mean text.
It's not mean.
It's not a mean text, but
But I was annoyed because I don't want to feel like I have to explain that. I don't have to I don't want to I don't feel like it, you are who you are. And we're doing a
well,
thing, and
yeah. And we're going to go into why this bothered us so much because there's a reason why we're telling you about this. It's because this text put our week into a tailspin in the best possible way that we could have ever. We never could have predicted what this text did for us.
at first we were pissed, and I think it's the best thing that's ever
It's the
happened.
best thing that's ever happened.
Exactly.
It really is the best thing. So I'm gonna be real human here for a minute. I was crushed that text came through. Now, one thing you should know about me is I don't usually care what people think about me. It's not really a concern I have. It's not that I think I'm the greatest thing in the world. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that I don't tend to concern myself with other people's opinions of me. Um, if I worried about what other people thought of me all the time, I would never produce anything good. I would
This is
never
why
produce.
this is why you're not a musician. I mean, no offense to musicians, but can I tell you how much time I've spent worrying about what people thought?
I believe that.
You know.
And I think that's very normal. And I think I'm just a little bit different that way.
Hmm.
I don't know why. I just never, um, it's just never really been a giant concern of mine. I've had moments, of course, because I'm human, but it's just not really a reigning concern. But what really bothered me was that I knew who had sent this text. I know this person. We know this person. And it was the last thing I expected from this person. And I really, really deeply respect this person. I really like this person a lot.
Hmm.
So much respect. And I felt the again, I don't know in what spirit it was sent, but the way it landed, it felt like it was questioning. It felt like it was undermining. It felt like it was, I mean, and suddenly I felt like a defensive, like I had to justify my existence.
Yeah, and you never know how a text is going to land
No, you don't.
because there's
Right.
no emotion or facial expression
Which is the
or
problem,
tone of
right?
voice.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure that this person didn't necessarily mean it. I don't know how he meant it. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea.
Hmm.
And I actually, seriously, I don't know how this person meant it. And so I thought, but that wasn't I wasn't dealing with that at the time. I was just dealing with that, my experience. It's the first time I've really ever had something like that. I mean, it really took me out that day. It really took me out.
Yeah, and I felt bad later when Eileen told me all of this because
Hmm.
um, at the time that I told you, it's right at the time that I'm gearing up for a block of time that I'm spending with my family and not really working.
Yeah, like
So,
because once she goes and gets her daughter from camp, and then she goes home, and then they have to do like
We spend
dinner
time
and
together. We do dinner,
family
bath.
time,
Yeah.
go for a walk, like they do. So this is when Tracy breaks for her day. She's not
Yeah.
available is the point. She's not available.
Yeah.
And
So
I
you
know
told me. Yeah.
that.
So you know that, and you told me that you reached out to a friend and
I did. I reached out to a friend and talked through it, and also, she helped me not go off the deep end. Um, because stuff like that, you can end up, things like, because I'm actually on a specific eating plan right now, and I didn't want to go off that eating plan. It's very easy to, dig into vices when you get upset about something. Let's be honest.
yeah, like it's like a fuck it, let's have nachos kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Or let's go have a martini or whatever, which is really
Right.
what I wanted.
Right.
And that's really what I wanted. And so, yeah, it was really hard. I really had a shockingly hard time with it. And we ended up talking about it the next day. So I ended up talking with her. I didn't have much, I don't think we had any more interaction that day. And then, of course, the next day was, Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And by Wednesday morning, I had recovered a bit. I was better. Like I had gotten some perspective.
Yeah.
And that's when we started talking about this. Why did this text spin me out? Why?
Uh,
And why did it irritate Tracy? And seriously, and this is a really important, and what it is, Tracy, do you want to say what it is? Because
yeah.
go ahead. It was,
Yeah. Well, okay, we talked about it a bunch and we figured out some things about it, just why mostly it was bothersome because there's really no way to describe what's happening when we talk about these things. We're talking about it in a holistic way, and I knew that. We're talking about career in a holistic way as the whole person, the whole human, and what's being brought forth. And this came through to me on a really awesome meditation, which didn't happen until Tuesday or till Wednesday, no, Thursday morning. Today's what, Friday?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wait, was it Wednesday or Thursday that I had this awesome? I think it was Thursday. Remember when I had we talked and you were like, you said your jaw was on the floor when I was saying
Yeah,
all the stuff.
I think it was Thursday.
Okay, so it must have been Thursday that I had this meditation. I meditated and I thought, when I meditate, I sort of think about how I'm going to meditate, like what I'm going to think about when I meditate, but I don't do it too preconceived because when I do that, it ends up not being as awesome as it could be if I just relaxed and let things come through on their own. So I just allow thoughts to pass by and see what comes from them. So all of a sudden I thought of the text and Eileen, and I didn't try to control the thoughts. And what came through was I couldn't have built Crushing Classical as the human that I was before Eileen and I got back in touch. And the reason is because I had so many other hangups about who I was and how I was managing my life and where I was going and how I had navigated my career from the time I was 18. And I'm a different person now. I'm 40. At the time when we got back in touch, I was 41. And, and I, was still living a life that I decided I wanted at age 19. So, but you change and you grow. And if you don't figure out that growth and change that happens as a human actually affects what you're doing and your happiness and what you're doing, that's moronic. And I was saying that I have always been, not always, but at a certain point in my life and around age 27 or some kind of late, I started getting interested in alternative health because up until that point, keep in mind, no internet. I had never even known that there was any other way that you could address a health problem besides getting something from the pharmacy. I honest to God, didn't know that. And when I met a friend of mine, Rachel, she had all these books about like herbs and different things. And I started looking at them and I'm like, what's an herb, first of all? And then what does it do in your body? And then it can cure things. It can heal things. Your body can heal itself. And then I just got hungry and I wanted to know everything. And so I started reading books. And then that was right when, I started having internet in my apartment, and I had a computer, and I started learning. And I related it to this situation because I said, what I believe now about the body is that if you just address like, oh, I have a fingernail fungus, so that must mean something's wrong with my fingernail. I'm going to go to the fingernail doctor, and they're going to put fingernail medicine on it, and hopefully the fingernail will get better. Well, why did I get that fungus? What's going on in my body that created a situation that can grow fingernail fungus? I don't have fingernail fungus, but I'm just using that as an example.
That's a good example. Yeah.
I know that it's not natural for your body to have a fungus. So either you can say, I have something wrong with my fingernail and just cut your fingernail off and hope for the best, put a big Band-Aid over it, or you can figure out what's going on in your body that's causing it to create a fungus. And so this is how I approach my health. And now I'm going, wait a second. This is how I'm approaching my career now without even realizing it, because I wouldn't have been able to build what I've built so far with Crushing Classical at that starting point. So I started working with Eileen in February of 2015.
2016.
16?
Isn't that right?
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. Hold on. 2016.
Last year. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yep. And we started working together, and it wasn't Crushing Classical from day one. It was all sorts of other stuff.
It was other things. And yeah, the first time we started working together, I just noticed some things. The text, said something about, is Eileen a life coach? No, I actually am not. But what is true about me is that I see the whole human. So I see, whenever somebody wants something, there are reasons they don't have it. And it's many reasons. It's not just one thing. It's not just your relationship. It's not just your health. It's not just your productivity. It's not just anything.
Right. And Eileen, you didn't make this up. You didn't make this up. No. You studied from multiple sources.
Yes. I am very, very trained. You don't have any idea how much training I've had.
Yeah. You didn't make this up. You just didn't decide that you are an expert in humans. You trained for years on end.
I've been doing human being work for a long time.
And it's fascinating. The people that you've studied with, the sources. When you share that stuff, I'm just like, my jaw drops to the ground. And it's almost like there's a whole realm there, just like the alternative health stuff was, where I'm like fascinated. I'm just blown away.
There on any number of occasions and conversations we've had, and I don't even realize it until she tells me she has what she calls a brain explosion, because she can't believe, because there's a way that I see things, and I see things from a human standpoint. Everything is sourced from a human standpoint. And I don't know how else to explain that to you. So and I'm going to add on to what you said. What bothered me about the text was that somebody was trying to put me in a box. Oh, she's a life coach. Oh, what is she? Is she a career coach? Is she a life coach? What is she? I am me, and I deal with humans, and that is all. That is it. It is that simple. And I deal with the whole human. Your career is not working, not because you don't practice enough. Your career is not working, not because you don't market enough. Your career is not working because you don't sell enough. That's not, it's so much more than that. It is so much more than that.
Yes.
And it's all those things too.
Exactly.
By the way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the first thing, and this is what bothered me, and this is what we got to, I think, on Thursday or Wednesday or whenever it was, is that what bothered me so much about it was, and it could have been anybody. Anybody could have said me. It doesn't matter who sent the text.
Yeah. Other people have said this kind of thing before.
People said this kind of thing, Yeah. I mean, how many times is Tracy going to run into somebody and they're going to go, "Oh, I heard you quit the horn. You're doing a podcast now." Right? Suddenly she's not a musician anymore because she's doing Crushing Classical. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so
she has to be in a box.
Exactly. The box thing. And so what I realized in a subsequent meditation, actually, it was like the next day, maybe it was today. I don't know. I'm losing track of the days because I don't know. This week was such a whirlwind, but
it was a whirlwind.
What I got was that this is the actual, first of all, this is what my book is going to be about.
Yep.
And I now know what the book is going to be about. So that was a miracle because I hired a quote unquote writing coach and editor last fall. And and he did this to me, but I was unaware of what that was because
Yeah.
I wasn't here. I was back there in my development, essentially.
Are you willing to share the question?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure because I didn't ask you before the podcast if you were going to do this.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't realize I was either, but it sort of felt like
well, I just want you to know you have a choice,
Right, I know, but it sort of felt right to do this. So,
Okay.
so the thing that he asked me over and over multiple times was, "Who are you to write a book? Who are you? Why are you justified to write a book?" And
What qualifies you,
yeah.
I think is how he said it.
And actually, I felt like I needed to write a book to qualify myself to my listeners, to the people who are going to pay attention to me. Hey, who am I? I'm a person who wrote a book about a thing that you need to read. And if you read it, you're going to feel good about it because you know that this person and this person, and this person said it was good. And then the problem that the editor had was that I hadn't done what I was saying that other people should do. Like I'm saying, start your own career, but I had a traditional career. I've had a traditional career where I've been a freelancer and I've taken lots of auditions. So I haven't created my own ensemble or done any of the other number of things that are awesome that people do. And since I haven't done that, who am I to tell other people to do it and write a book about it? So right. He was looking for me. He was looking for a way to put me in a box. And what I realized in a meditation was and I think this is true about putting people in boxes, and we do it. All of us do it to ourselves.
I know you did it yesterday with trumpet players. It's hysterical.
It's a habit. It's a real habit that all humans have because we want to organize and compartmentalize and make things easier for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And on some level, you could say that maybe it's laziness. And so like this editor wanted to figure out who I was and what template he could stick me into so we could write this book in the easiest, quickest way possible and bang it out. He could get paid and be done. Mm-hmm. And obviously that didn't work for me. And I didn't know why it didn't work for me, but it didn't work for me because I was sitting here struggling to write a book. And every time I reread it, I would want to scrap the whole thing. And that wasn't going to work because we had a timeline and we were supposed to be done working together in 4 months or whatever. And then I was going to call him up and say, guess what? Word count 0. And he was going to get mad at me. And It was like not ideal for a creative process at all.
Yeah, I know it was. Yeah, definitely when I look back on it, how much that process didn't work, it was not good.
Not good at all. Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, he was, looking back, it's funny that it took 6 months to see what happened 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm. I know. And I think, and I remember saying to you at some point recently, like, wow, what if I would have decided to do a 100-day challenge on meditation when I discovered what that was last summer from that person we follow?
Yeah.
If I would have done that, I might not have even, I might have seen some things, but hindsight's 2020 and I wouldn't have spent the money and da-da-da, but,
blah, blah, blah. Right. Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But now I know from this whole experience that I'm going to write an awesome book and it's going to be, what I wanted it to be all along, which is something that's going to blow people's minds.
Yeah, complete. And now we actually know what it's going to be about, which is really cool. And a big part of that is this whole identity thing. And the reason we're bringing it up is because it's so easy. The whole world wants to put you in a category. The whole world wants to put you in a box. And what I recognized too out of this, is why it was such a great thing that happened, is that what I've been struggling with in the last, I would say, 3 years is I knew what I was before anyone ever knew what I was. And I've known who I am and what I am before anyone, and it's been impossible to explain.
Can you explain? I want to just ask you really quick. Can you explain what drove you to dig so deep and figure out all of this information for yourself?
There was a point when I was 20, no, it was like in 2005, around there. I was extremely dissatisfied with my life. And sorry, I don't know how old I was in 2005. You can do the math there if you want, but
30 something.
Is that right?
Young 30s, because in 2005 I was like 32.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, because I remember I moved here.
Okay, I was extremely dissatisfied with my life, and I was actually it had been through for the last few years before that, and I realized seriously, this is what occurred to me. I was like, this life is meaningless. That's what I said. I mean, that for myself back then, for me, life is meaningless. It's completely. And Tracy, I'm not joking. This is true. What happened? I said, life is meaningless. All we do is we get up every day, we go do whatever job we do, whatever work we do. We come home, we have meals or whatever. We do whatever we do at night. We go to bed and we do it all over again. Life is absolutely, utterly meaningless. None of this means anything.
Mm-hmm.
I got there. That's just where I got to. And then I went to a training very shortly after that. I'm talking in the same year. In the same freaking year, I went to a training. And at the end of it, it said exactly that. Exactly that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
So I had already arrived at that conclusion before I went to this training. And that was the conclusion of the training I went to. In other words, that's where they landed. And I was like, what? And I said, holy cow, these are my people.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was true. I knew for me, it was true. It was meaningless. And so I decided that I was going to stay there and get trained. And it was in that process of being trained that I started to understand why I felt that way, why I got to, nothing means anything, why and what it is. It has to do with being human. That's where it started. My interest in, that was the beginning of my learning what human is, what it is to be human and what we deal with as humans. And I got obsessed with learning and understanding humanity and my own humanity and how I had arrived there and how other people arrived there and how can I help some, because if who you are is life doesn't mean anything, then, you go out and do heroin, become an alcoholic. I mean, right. That's where everybody goes. When they get to the point where nothing matters, that's what a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And I thought but that's not what I want though. That's not a life, even though life doesn't mean anything, it could mean something. And I don't want to throw away the life I have. I mean, I only get one life that I know of. Right.
Right. Uh-huh.
And some people would say, well, Eileen, it's just because if you would have just been religious and if you would have just studied Jesus and God, it has nothing to do with religion.
I love that voice.
It has nothing to do with religion,
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with who I knew for myself that I had to find, if life doesn't mean anything, then I have to create it or find meaning in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got obsessed with that. So that's I know that's a little bit of a long answer, but that's the short answer to the question you're asking me, because it's so much more than that.
And that training led you to other trainings that led you to other trainings, and which
I've
led
been studying it ever since. I've been obsessively,
and you don't stop.
Yeah, and I don't stop. And I got trained in it, and I started training others in it. And I mean, seriously, I got obsessed with it, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. And so I'm going to be 43 this year. And so you got to think about it. When you've studied it at the level I have and trained it at the level I have, then it becomes who you are.
Yeah.
It's not even just what I believe. It's like who I am.
It's who you are. And the reason why I was so fascinated by it myself was because I knew Eileen when she was a teenager and when we were in our 20s together in Chicago, and then we just didn't keep in touch for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I get in touch with you again, and it's like, you're the same person because you're still direct and bold and opinionated, but there was something else different about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like you understood that was who you are, and you knew how to maybe control the humanity side of things of yourself, and I don't know, there was just definitely something different about you that I noticed.
I knew that. Yeah, there's definitely something different, but also I think there were a couple things too. There was also I knew better how to control myself, but I also, I was now interacting with you in a way that and this is the only way I can describe it, that I and this is how I feel when I interact with humans, I have genuine compassion for the human condition. And I had genuine compassion for all of your humanity that you brought to. I could see all of your humanity when we first got back in touch. I could see all of it. And I have such an intention to contribute and help people sort through that I started doing my thing that I do, and luckily Tracy was open to that. I'm not going to say I immediately coached her, but what's the word? I started making suggestions in a very unusual way because she doesn't know how this works. But she was responding to them.
Yeah.
And then she started doing things in response. And then she started coming back and telling me what was happening. And then I would say more things, and then she'd go do more things, and then she would come back. And I'm talking, you're probably going, well, what were you telling her, Eileen? Were you telling her, to go sell something? No, no. It had everything to do with what was going on in her life at the time.
Yeah, but we were also talking about starting a business.
Yes, we were also talking about starting. So it was holistic is what the point is. Like, it was not just one thing we talked about. It was not just career. I knew that in order for her to be successful at this, something that she wanted to do next, that we had to deal with some things first. That's my expertise. My expertise is I can see what you can't see about yourself that's in your way of having what you say that you want. And you think I should just coach you on your career. That's not how that works. There is so many more reasons why you can't have what you want. It is so far beyond, it goes so far beyond your career, so far beyond that.
And this is what's so fascinating. It's really so fascinating. So, having you come on to Crushing Classical started as like Eileen is a business person, and it makes sense because you are a former musician / now you're a business person, and you're bringing a different business mentality to the table, which is still true. And then as we went, and you can't compartmentalize that. And this is what we saw finally this week.
Yeah.
Is that you can't compartmentalize
just out of this text. This is how we saw it.
All from this text.
All from this one text.
You can't compartmentalize it. I can't have Eileen here saying, well, if you wanted to start thinking like a business person as a musician, you got to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Right.
That's more than that.
Post today, and you have to put images up, and you have to do memes, and no.
And you have to make a website.
Right. And there should be a funnel, It just doesn't, it's not that way. And that's what everybody's looking for. The formula, the box, the
template,
that's what everyone's looking for. And at the same time, the whole world wants to categorize you. They want to put you in a box and make you one thing. And that's what classical music has been. It's very much been, you are one thing. You are a trumpet player. You are a flute player. You are a violinist.
Exactly. And so I didn't even realize it, but the people that I seek out to be on the podcast are always more than one thing.
They're always more than one thing. And the truth is, you are more than one thing. You are, Tracy. I am. Everybody is. I am not just a business person. I am an expert in humanity, an absolute expert.
I can back that up 100%. I've seen you at work for more than a year now, and I know.
I'm an expert. It's just what it is. But can I define that? Hell no. I have no idea what to call myself. And I'm not going to call myself a humanity expert. I'm not going to give myself a title. I know that I'm an expert in that. Like I said, I've known who I was long before anyone ever knew who I was. And I'm not going to define it. And so that's why that text put me in such a tailspin, because I do not want to be defined. I'm not just do not want to. I'm unwilling to be defined by anyone, including myself. Seriously.
Right.
Seriously. And that is the hardest thing. I think that's a very difficult thing for classical musicians maybe to grasp, is the idea of that you can be just you. And you is many things.
Yeah, and that's why you don't have to worry if, gee, I'm a flute player, but that other flute player is doing something outside the box and it's not a symphony. So she started something. That means I can't do it because we're both flute players and she's doing something. Now she's doing that thing, so I can't do that thing. No.
Yeah.
Every person who does a thing, it's never going to be exactly the same. So it's
Totally.
okay, you know?
Totally. And, to top this all off, I just want to say, so that text thing happened on Tuesday. And then, Tracy and I had our discussions about it, and we just really had to process it. And it's funny because Tracy had a really hard day on Monday and over the weekend. I had my really hard day on Tuesday walking into Wednesday. Thursday sort of calmed down a bit, but we had some miracles happen, actually. We had a couple of testimonials. They're really just messages that came through, two or three that came through
It
from
was three
people.
messages, and they
Three.
were
Oh
all
my
like,
God, they're
they
amazing.
all made us, pee our
We cried,
pants.
man. I
Yeah,
mean, we
we cried.
cried. We did. Like, I mean, I remember saying to you on, I think it was Thursday, if there's one thing that we needed today, if there's one thing that we needed this week, it was those messages.
I couldn't believe it when it was like one and then two and then three.
Yep, all on the same day.
Yeah.
It
And I
was a
was like,
miracle.
we got acknowledged
Yeah, we got acknowledged,
for the
and it was
work.
at a time that we so badly needed to be acknowledged, for real. And I'm sure that people get on these firesides and these two think they know everything. I'm sure there's people who think that. I'm sure there's people who think it's funny or whatever. But the truth is that we're humans and we have the same concerns and fears, and uh, we get hurt too. We
Yeah.
get disappointed too. We struggle too, and I don't. I will never separate myself from our audience because we are you. We just have a different mission.
Exactly.
We're the same. We are the same. We are not better than you. We are not smarter than you. We are just leading a movement. And we have hard days. And I'm going to tell you, like, when that happened, when that little spin out happened on Tuesday, I was like, Eileen, you got to pull your shit together. You know, it's very unusual. Tracy knows, for me to spin out. I've been in business for a long time, and me getting spun out, that just doesn't really happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing really. There's nary a thing that takes me out anymore.
Nary a thing.
Tracy drops her computer on the floor, and I'm like, well, let's check some things and see if it's broke.
Oh my
And she's like,
Lord.
oh my God. And I'm like, let's just check some things. It might be fine. And I'm over here like not freaking out at all because I'm like, well, it might not be broken.
That shocked the shit out of me when you weren't like freaking out.
I know you were expecting me to yell at you.
I poured water on my computer and
dropped it.
I couldn't remember if I dropped it because I blanked out when it was happening.
Yeah, she couldn't even remember what happened.
Luckily my computer still works. Thank God, knock on wood and all that stuff.
I know it does. It does work, but I remember that, and because I mean, even that, you drop a computer from a 4-story building, and I'm still going to go check it and see if it works. I'm serious. Like I'm just using that as an example of it's really hard to make me spin out anymore because I've had the worst of times in business. I have.
Right.
I've had the worst of times, and yeah, I mean, really, I could tell you stories, but it's not worth it. I'm just telling you, I've had the worst of times in business, and I've had great times too. So, it was just a really, it was an amazing, an amazing week for us. Because so many great things came out of it.
Yeah.
So many great things. And of course, thank you for the people who, you don't know who you are, but thank you for the testimonials you sent this week that, was really truly the acknowledgement we need. I think one thing that I want to, put forward is I don't care if it's our podcast or someone else's, but if you're impacted by or enjoying someone's work, you should tell them.
Yes, 100%.
You should tell them. If you're not acknowledging people's work and its impact on you, you are really, that's a gift.
Yeah.
There's no greater gift you can give than acknowledging the work that someone's doing in your life and what impact it's having on you. There's no price tag for that.
I couldn't agree more.
There's no price tag. And so I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about this week?
No.
I'm trying to think if we forgot anything.
Just that, that getting those messages was, it was like It was
We
like a
needed it.
remedy. It was like an actual,
Yeah.
medicine for us.
It
It
was.
was,
It was. Oh man, it was such needed medicine
yeah.
for us, especially the day that they came
And it
out.
felt like a miracle to
It
have
did.
three people compliment us and say that they're being impacted by the podcast was,
Yeah, it was really something.
yeah.
It was really something. So after what was really a very tumultuous and rough week for
Yeah,
us,
exactly.
and
And
I'm. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say the other way that you can help, you know, I agree with you. Any podcast, anyone's work that you're appreciating, any blogger, any person
Yeah,
who,
any impact, if it's having an impact on you, you got to tell them.
yeah. But I wanted to say, another way that you can help us grow the podcast is to share it and to even just to be on Facebook and make a comment, because
Yeah,
the way that the Facebook, machine works is that if you comment or share a post, then more people see it. I don't know, it just pops up in other people's feeds and
it does.
whatever.
Yep.
And then that's how it spreads. We did a thing this week. We did a game where we were trying to.
Oh, let's talk about
Yeah,
that.
should we talk about the game?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
it.
so then Eileen said, "Let's play a game," and I'm like, "What? What do you
She's
mean?"
like, "What's a game?"
First you're mean to me, and then you ask me to play a game. I'm scared.
Totally.
But she said, "Let's play a game. And you know what? Actually, this idea came on,
Monday.
you were texting
Monday.
me. We were texting and like saying, let's put out some posts that are, maybe less heavy that people just might be lightheartedly wanting to contribute to. Like instead of like, I mean, not that everything that we do is heavy, but we make statements about things, about starting
Yeah, we
something in
drive
your
home
career.
points, and
Driving home.
we're a little bit hardcore about it, right?
Yeah, a little hardcore. So that's our shtick. But
Yeah.
but then you said let's put something that would just be fun to contribute to, and we brainstormed a little bit, and I said, so many great guest conductors come through orchestras all the time, and I bet people have opinions about people that maybe not as well known and that you might not know about. Let's do a post like that. And so I did one, and I asked a few people, a few friends, hey, will you just weigh in on this? I know you have opinions about this stuff, and it would be great if you weigh in.
Yeah, and actually, I sent 4 private messages out to people. It's funny, my friends group is different because I'm not a musician, right? So I only have 4 friends who are musicians, classical musicians, like in my Facebook friend group. And so I messaged them privately and requested them to comment and also share the post because we were looking for more people to give comments.
Yeah, and a majority of my friends are musicians, so I didn't
Right.
actually email or message everybody, but I messaged a lot of people asking, hey, do you have an opinion on this? Would you please weigh in on it?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was we ended up getting 10 more page likes within the week
Mm-hmm.
because those people, and there weren't even that many shares as there were comments, but even if you comment and your notification will say,
Yep.
this person commented on this person's post. And if someone clicks on that and sees it, then they go, oh, I'm going to comment too, because that's something I have an opinion about.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, it's spreading across the interwebs. And I was really surprised to see that we had 10, we had been notching up like one more like every 5 or 6 days.
Yeah,
So
that was our pace basically. Like
yeah. So it
maybe
felt
1 or
like it
2
was
likes
stuck.
every 7 to 8 days or something like that.
Yes. So that's why it felt sort of stuck at a certain number. And then all of a sudden we're almost to 400, like
Right.
in a week.
Yeah,
So
and I think we started at 377 or something.
exactly.
I think the number was 377 when I looked at it and got mad.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
right now we are 4 away from 400. So
Yeah.
if we're not at 400 by the time this episode comes out and you haven't liked the page, yeah, no, I will be surprised too. But there's only 4 more, and I'm going to do a jig in my house when it breaks 400.
Hopefully she'll film it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you have to know how much comments and likes and shares do, especially comments and shares. You can't imagine, we don't, obviously we can't expect anyone to do anything, but it's not even about that. It's when the work is good, you share it. When the work is good, you acknowledge it. If you don't think it's good, then don't do anything. Whatever, write to us and tell us. But,
Right.
because we're certainly open to feedback, but we really are, our intention is to do really good work. And, I feel like in this Facebook/Instagram/ newsfeed world, we just don't take the time to comment and share and acknowledge. And I really try and do that, especially now on Facebook. I really try and share when I see great work, I share it.
Yes.
When I see a great post, I share it and I make a comment about it. I mean, like when I share the post, I do, share and then I write something about it and then I share the post. I don't just comment in the thread. I actually say something about it. I find myself sharing a lot of things that I think are worthy, like really good work being done by people that I even people I don't know.
Yeah.
And
if you
so
haven't
important.
posted in a while, it's a great way to post to your page just by sharing someone else's post,
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
if you think that someone's going to get something out of the thing.
Exactly.
So
exactly. And so,
you can even share in a private message,
Yeah, which we've done.
Yeah.
We've done with each other. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess I think it just at the end of the day, I just want to remind you how important it is to, like, you never know where somebody is. You never know.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why we want you to share your work with us, because if there's anything I would love to do, it's acknowledge your great work.
Oh my gosh, totally.
I wish you would share it with us.
Yeah. And if you're starting something because of what you've heard on this podcast, please tell us.
Yeah, please. I mean, you can't imagine. I mean, that's what we exist for.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's what we exist for. So that's really it. That's all I've got to say about this topic. It was a miracle of a week in so many ways. We told you the ways that really are relevant to Crushing Classical. It's beyond that, but definitely, it's amazing how one little text changed everything.
I know, and what looked like something bad actually turned into be the best thing that's happened so far.
It has. I mean, it
especially
was
in the 100 days within. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think this will be, once 100 days is over, when we reflect back on it, this will be a premier event.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be one of the premier events. There might be 2 or 3, whatever, but this is going to be one of them for sure. A defining moment for sure.
Yes, for sure.
So there you go.
Awesome. This has been a good one.
It was. It was great. It was great to talk about. I'm really glad we talked about it. It's funny. You might be asking yourself, well, how can you guys talk about this publicly? It's our job to talk about it publicly.
Yep.
We have to talk about it publicly.
It's the way that we're documenting our journey.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes it's hard to document it all, everything that's going on through a social media outlet. I feel like really our documentation is coming through on Firesides.
Yeah.
Like where we are on this journey. And we'll probably share a lot more of that too.
I'm sure. Yeah, definitely. And we've got some pretty cool plans coming, like we'll talk about those, a little bit later in the year, but we've got some really cool things on the horizon.
I know. I can't wait for them because they're going to be so much fun I just can't even wait.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be fun for you guys, the audience. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening, and please join us on the conversation. Facebook.com/Crushing Classical, Instagram @Crushing Classical. And if you're so inclined, awesome, write a review on iTunes. We love those. We love those. All right. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.